Hey yo, how you doing? This is your man Foji Ghana back again. I salute you all Arsenal fans out there for the way you're helping grow this channel. We're almost coming to 1,000 subscribers and that has been massive. Please take a moment if you're new to this channel to subscribe, like and comment so we can grow this channel together and make it a big channel for Arsenal fans everywhere. Today I'm going to try to go through all the list of legitimate Arsenal transfer targets as seen in the media and those that I think Arsenal are likely to sign and give you a progress on each one of them. So first up on the strikers list, I've put the strikers into a tier list. That is from the highest rated strikers in terms of their goal returns, in terms of their conversion rate, in terms of their minutes per goal. So we've got the tier one strikers. These are the top strikers, what we can call world-class strikers. And leading the list is Victor Osimhen from Napoli. Arsenal are said to be readying an offer of about £63 million, which they believe might turn the heads at Napoli. They rate the player at around £102 million. So Arsenal's 63 million offer is likely to be rejected, and Arsenal will need to go back with a bigger offer to get this player. The other player who Arsenal has been linked with among these top tier strikers is Alexander Isak from Newcastle. Now, this is one striker that I personally think would be a very good fit for Arsenal Football Club. He actually reminds me of Thierry Henry because he's got that knack of coming from the wing, dribbling and getting into the box and shooting. He's not your typical center forward. He's not the kind of guy who will hang in the box and sort of just wait for the ball to come in. He will go out and get the ball. Now, this guy has got Premier League experience, scored over 20 goals, and he is able to lead the line for Arsenal Football Club. In fact, but the challenge is that Newcastle are not very keen on selling him, especially if they're selling the other player who is Bruno Guimaraes from their squad. They're likely to try and keep Alexander Isak. This player used to play with Odegaard at Real Sociedad, so they know each other very well, and I'd love to see that partnership blossoming again, linked up again and blossoming at Arsenal Football Club. Now, the other striker I rated as a top striker in terms of tier one strikers is Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa. This is one that we were linked with mostly in the January transfer window, but one of those that I will actually prefer Arsenal to buy as well. The only challenge is that he is 28 years old, and as we know, Arsenal are tending to go for younger players, so I don't see them going for Ollie Watkins as such, but he is a fabulous striker. In terms of his return rate, it's insane how many goals he scores, and more so also how many chances he creates for his team. Now, next up is the tier two sort of strikers. These are strikers who could give you a return of about 20 goals plus a season if they get a good system. Now, up there in terms of the price, I've actually rated them in terms of price. So the most expensive among this is Santiago Jimenez, who plays for Feyenoord. This is a Mexican striker. He's only 23 years old, and he's being mentioned as the next Van Persie. You remember we got Van Persie from Feyenoord way back in 2003 and 4 season. So this is a striker who has got very good returns. He scores more than 20 goals for them in the last 2 windows. And he is one of those that is very highly rated and very desired by lots of clubs. Now, he won't come cheap. Feyenoord are said to want the Eredivisie record that Manchester United paid for Anthony. That is £87 million. So he's one of those that Arsenal probably are trying to negotiate to bring down the line. Now, next up is Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. Now, this is one very exciting striker because his scoring record is insane. He's got more than 40 goals this season for Sporting Lisbon, and his scoring record, honestly, compares to Haaland in terms of the sheer number of goals that he gets into the net. Also, he's got very good numbers in terms of assists because he got about 15 assists for the last season alone. So he is prolific in every nature of it, and he's likely to improve any side that he signs for. Now, they're asking for £85 million, and you know Sporting Lisbon, they're quite a hard bargainer. And it looks like for Arsenal to get this player, they have to stamp that much. They have to raise that much. Now, the only challenge with Victor Gyökeres is that he had a knee surgery in late May, which is likely to keep him out for about 6 weeks. So this is one that is likely to be a bit of a question mark right there because we saw how Jesus struggled after coming back from his injury. But one to watch, and Arsenal are said to be very keen on him. Now, the other one that just came into our radar is Matheus Cunha, who plays for Wolves. Very good striker. I've seen him. His finishing is top notch. He's had about 12 goals this season for Wolves, and I think that if he comes into a better side in terms of chances created, like Arsenal Football Club, he'll be able to offer more returns on the goal scoring end. So Matthias Cunha, very good in the air, very good in the box as well, able to score lots of goals. I believe it can be a good signing. At 45 million pounds as well, he'll be one of the cheaper options in this pack. Next up is Ivan Toney, currently on England duty at the Euros. Very good striker from Brentford. He is Premier League proven, ready to hit the ground running, and he's got a big presence, sort of that attitude of give me the ball and I'll show you what I got. He is one that is also the same age bracket as Oli Watkins, 28 years old. So not one I would expect Arsenal to chase very much in this transfer window. But strange things happen. You might never know. So next is Artem Dovbyk, who plays for Girona in Spain. Now, Girona is a club that has got the same ownership as City, Manchester City. So that could be the only challenge there. But the price tag there is 33 million. And this player scored about 26 goals for them last season. So very good returns for a striker. And he's one of those that I think can be a very good fallback option for Arsenal in case they miss out on their primary targets. So one to watch, unless there's an obstacle from City in terms of barring the sale to Arsenal because we are a direct rival. Next up is a tier 3 group of strikers, whom I will say some of them are Premier League proven, like Benjamin Solanke, plays for Bournemouth at 65 million pounds, quite pricey, but he notched about 18, 19 goals for them last season in the Premier League alone. So he showed that he's got very good returns in front of goal. And if he can hit that much for Bournemouth, surely coming to Arsenal, he can give a better return. So one to watch as well. Other clubs are linked with him, including Tottenham. And I think it could be one of those that we go for late in the transfer window if we miss out on our primary transfer targets. Then we've got Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna. Joshua Zirkzee has been one of those that has been rumored a lot with Arsenal Football Club. His returns are not very high. He got about 12 goals last season for Bologna, but he's the kind of striker who likes to come into midfield, pick the ball up with his back to goal, very strong, and be able to bring other players into the game. He actually reminds me a lot of Havertz in terms of his game. He's got some very good fast touches though, and he's able to dribble better than maybe Havertz does. My only qualm about him is that he's very similar to what we already have in Havertz. I don't see what he will bring to Arsenal Football Club that we already don't have, but who knows? He has an agent who's a friend to Edu Jarabukin, so we never know whether they can actually strike a deal. Next is Jonathan David, been linked with Arsenal in previous transfer windows. He is able to score lots of goals, but his goal return in terms of minutes per goal is not as high as or as impressive as the other strikers. I would say minimum chance of us signing him, and he's being linked with other clubs as well, including Tottenham. We have a very interesting striker here who's actually coming at a very friendly price of 15 million pounds. That is Serhou Guirassy. Now, Guirassy plays for Stuttgart. He had a return of 28 goals in Bundesliga last season, which is massive return for a striker. 28 years old as well. He's in that age bracket of Ivan Toney. He is actually a minimum risk for Arsenal Football Club. I mean, if you go out and buy a player for 15 million pounds and he comes in and maybe he notches 15 plus goals, that is a good return. So he's one of those that Arsenal should go for if they can't get their primary target. I'm going to go now to the wingers. Yeah, the wingers will be linked with Arsenal Football Club. And first up is Rafael Leao, who plays for AC Milan. Big winger for them. He's actually one of those forwards that is very interesting because he's got everything you want in a mercurial forward. He can dribble, he glides past players. He's got that Thierry Henry kind of movement where he glides past players. He's very impressive to watch. When he's on the ball, he's got the crowd on the edge of their seats, literally. He's got those wow goals where he just curls the ball into the far corner. And he is a player who will definitely get the fans excited. Similar level of excitement like when you signed Sanchez, maybe. I would personally love to have Arsenal sign him, but the price tag is about 160 million pounds. That is his humongous release clause. And because that is so high, I don't see Arsenal going for him. Next up is Rodrigo Silva. Rodrigo plays for Real Madrid, 23 years old or 22 thereabouts. He will not come cheap, but we know that this is a player who actually get things done. In the Champions League, he's been the go-to man when they are goal down or two. You saw what he did at Man City. He's the one who scored goals to bring them back into the match. So he is a player who's proven. He's the kind of player who can give the same impact like Trossard. When he comes on, he makes things happen. And he can also be a starter for us. If he proves himself to be good enough, especially on the defensive side of the game, he could be a starter for us. Next up is Marcus Rashford from Manchester United. Now, this is also a mercurial signing in terms of the impact he can bring to the team. I'm talking about the Marcus Rashford of 2022-2023 season, who scored almost about 30 goals, about 28 goals he scored for Manchester United. He was totally unplayable in that season. I mean, I remember him coming to Arsenal Football Club and he scored a goal without backlift. He had this knack of just shooting without backlift. I see that from Phil Foden as well, where he just shoots without backlift. That just always gets the goalkeeper unawares. He is currently on about 375,000 a week, depending on which sources you listen to. So for that reason, I do not anticipate to see Arsenal buying him unless they miss out on other targets and becomes available at a more affordable price. The price that goes to 70 million is quite high. Then we've got the other target that has been whispered in connection to Arsenal Football Club is Michael Olise, exciting player. He is not your typical winger. He can also drift infield and sort of play that number 10. Very exciting player. Personally, I wouldn't mind if we signed him, but the big rumor right now is that he's about to sign for Chelsea. So unless something changes, I expect him to go that direction. Next up is Xavi Simons. Now, this is one player who has been linked a lot with Arsenal Football Club, especially in the past week. He belonged to PSG, but they bought him from PSV and they had an agreement that if they sell him, they have to give PSV a big part of that sale. So because of that, he's been sent out on loan multiple times. The latest one has been with RB Leipzig in the German league, where he's had very good spell. And he is a player, complete player in terms of his forward play. He can play on the wings, can play in the middle, and he's one of those that I would actually like Arsenal to sign in a deal similar to what we did with Odegaard, where he comes in on loan, and then once he proves himself, we can pay the full amount and get him next summer. Lots of clubs interested in him, including Manchester United, Manchester City, and Bayern Munich. So one to watch. Next up is one of those that we've been linked with perennially, which is Pedro Neto from Wolves. He's a very exciting player. You know, his only problem is that he's mostly injured, but whenever he's on the pitch, you know, he can play like 15 games and he gets you like something like 12 assists from those 15 games. So he is a big impact player playing from the wing. He can play on either wing and he's Premier League proven. So a very good fit for Arsenal Football Club. He can do a job for us. So I wouldn't mind us signing Pedro Neto. 60 million is a bit expensive. Maybe down at 40 million would be a better purchase. Now, Nico Williams. This player had a fantastic game against Italy at the Euros. He was everywhere. He was causing all kinds of trouble on the wing. He just showed what speed and guile and shooting prowess can do. He actually hit the post and he was unplayable. This is a player who's very exciting out there with Atletico Bilbao in Spain. Lots of clubs want him. And he's one of those that I will say, take the check out, Edu, get this player signed because he can be the perfect understudy for Saka. He can replace Martinelli or Saka whenever they're tired. He can be one of those forwards who is just a fan favorite, you know, because he has got everything in his locker. Good dribbling skills, can shoot with either feet, so you don't know whether he's coming in to the left or to the right. He can be a nightmare for defenders. The same applies to this other player here, Johan Bakayoko from PSV. This kid is PlayStation. His dribbling is just out of this world, insane. He's so exciting. I would place him in the same category with Nico Williams, one of those players that Liverpool have actually been very heavily linked with him. But I hope Arsenal raise the money, go out there and get a player like Johan Bakayoko. Him or Nico Williams, either of them, I wouldn't mind, to be honest. They're just fantastic players. Now, there's one here that has been linked with us, Federico Chiesa. You know, Chiesa from 2 seasons ago was a huge player. He was a megastar, actually. He was one of those that was rated to be around 80 million pounds for you to get him. Very tenacious in the way he plays his game. You know, he just drives. That's what he does. You know, whatever situation there is, whether in Champions League, domestic league, he knows how to drive into the box. The bad thing about it is that he had an injury, a major injury, which has sort of slowed him down a bit. And Juventus are keen to sell. I don't know whether Arsenal are going to go after him. He said he doesn't want to solve his future unless and until he has finished playing the Euros. So one to watch, but he has been linked with Arsenal Football Club. So we will put him on this list. Now, tier 3 wingers. And I don't know whether I'm being fair to these two guys because they could easily be in the tier 2 wingers. Desire Doué, I just put him here because he's only 18 years old. And his club rent is demanding about 35 million pounds. Now, make no mistake, he's one of the brightest talent to come out of the French league in recent years. He is going to the Olympics to play with France, and he's one of those that is linked with lots of other clubs. I wouldn't mind Arsenal signing him as well because he has been immense in that league. He's got unique abilities, and I believe amongst all the players in this analysis for wingers, he's one of those that could actually have the highest ceiling in terms of, you know, Ballon d'Or levels if he's given the right environment to actually develop into his full ability. Lastly, on the wingers list is Viktor Sigankov. This winger, belongs to Girona out there in Spain. He has been immense for them. Lots of assists, lots of goals. He could be similar to what I said about the other player before. He could be an impact player similar to Trossard, who comes in and actually gives us goals. Now, I will go on to the midfield. Who do we have here? We've got tier 1 midfielders. João Neves. This is a tenacious player, not very tall, but whatever he lacks in height, he makes up for it in terms of his tenacity. And it also reminds me of those runs similar to wheelchair runs through midfield. And he's got also a defensive ability about him, similar to Kante. So he's a proper engine. So he's likely to come in as a number 8, a left 8, and Odegaard can play that right 8, and then Rice will anchor at number 6. So still one to look at, still rumored with Arsenal Football Club. Other clubs, of course, interested as well. So it remains to be seen. Next up is Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. This is one that has just resurrected this week because it had just sort of cooled down when Manchester City was said to be front runners, but it has come up by leaps and bounds this week, and Arsenal are said to be readying an offer for him, including 2 players, so 2 players and money get Bruno Guimaraes through the door. Now, this is one that could be very promising because we already have a contingent of Brazilians at Arsenal Football Club, and Edu is a Brazilian as well, so it looks like one of those that we could actually get done. Imagine a midfield of Odegaard, Rice, and Bruno Guimaraes. Wow, that is big, not only in the Premier League, but also in Europe. So one that I'd love to see get done. Other players we've been linked to in that midfield position are Frank de Jong from Barcelona. Will not come cheap at £85 million asking price, but I think we can get him for cheaper than that. A very, very quality player, make no mistake, and one who could raise the ceiling of that midfield if Arteta finds a way to integrate him and Odegaard together in that attacking 8. Then we've got Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa, and lately he's been linked heavily with Juventus, who are said to be readying a cash plus money swap deal for him. So yeah, one of those that I don't expect to come to Arsenal anyway because he looks to be ready to go to Juventus. Now, tier 2 midfielders, I put Eberechi Eze here, who has been linked with us at £65 million. Very exciting player, also out there at the Euros with England. I actually personally like him very much because he brings an element that none of these other players have. He's got that dribbling ability where he just goes direct, takes on his man, sort of ghosts past players, this out, you're out, I'm in the box, I'm going to shoot. And he can shoot as well. He can hit them really hard and he scores lots of goals from that position. So I think it can be a different profile than anything that we already have at the club. And because of that, I put him here. And I believe that can actually be a very good signing. Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, one of those that we've been linked with a lot of times, but sort of slowing down. I don't think he is exactly the profile that Arteta is looking for because he looks to be more comfortable playing as a number 6. Now, he doesn't look exactly physically up for the battle of the Premier League, playing as a number 6. Players like Amadou Onana, who I'm about to talk about next, actually, seem like they fit better in that number 6 profile for Arsenal because he is a big presence. He's an engine in that midfield. He can tackle really hard. He's very hard to get past, And I believe that Arsenal have actually shifted their attention now fully to Amadou Onana, given that when the summer window opened on Friday last week, he's the first player they actually went for, they are rumored to have gone for and inquired about. Then Manuel Locatelli, one we've been associated with before he moved to Juventus, and again, he has cropped up on Arsenal's radar this transfer window. Now, Youssouf Fofana is one of those that we're also very interested in. He plays for Monaco out there in the French league. He's also with France in the Euros. You can watch him. Very, very good player. If Partey is leaving and we are to replace him in that midfield, we need a player who's got athleticism and also who's got a good eye for a pass. And this guy has got both in bounds, which actually I think makes him a very good choice above some players who have appeared on this list. So Youssouf Fofana will not be very expensive at £30 million release clause. So I believe this is one that we could actually go for as a fallback if one of our primary targets, say Bruno Guimaraes or Amadou Onana, falls through. Lastly, we've got Archie Gray from Leeds, young player who plays as a right back, but can also, actually his favorite position is playing in the midfield. Kind of reminds me of a young Aaron Ramsey. He can be a very good box-to-box for Arsenal. He can do the job for us in a big way. Now we'll move on to show you the defenders linked with Arsenal Football Club very quickly. So we've got Jarl Hato of Ajax. He's got a mercurial, huge presence. He's actually the captain at that young age of 18. So I really rate this player, and I think Arteta rates him very highly as well. I will compare him with what we already have in terms of Timber. He's got those progressive runs. He can bomb up and down the wing, and he can be a very good signing for Arsenal Football Club. Only that he won't come cheap at £85 million. Very, very expensive. Next up is Gerard Brentwaite from Everton. one that Manchester United are heavily linked with. I expect them to tie this deal ahead of Arsenal Football Club, so I will not spend much time discussing him. But Mark Guehi is definitely one that we've been linked heavily with, and his showings at the Euro have actually sort of removed any doubts whether he's a big stage player. He has done very well for England at the Euros, and one that I will expect if Arsenal is going for a defender who can sort of be the backup for Saliba, he could be an excellent choice for us. So Arsenal should move quicker to see whether they can get him at a better price. Osman Diomande, this is one that I think is the best on this list in terms of the sheer defensive news. He's one of those that is a very good defender, very good long passes from the defensive position. He can bring the ball out of the defense very comfortably, similar to what Saliba does for us. And he's being linked with a host of clubs. Now, at £51 million, I think that is the release clause. That is actually a bargain for this kind of player. I would say if Arsenal can get him for that amount, please go all out and get Osman Diomande through the door. Very, very good defender. One that we've been linked with in the past week is Murilo, who plays for Nottingham Forest, a 21-year-old defender of Brazilian origin. One that also I could say we could assign as a late option if we fail on our primary targets. And then we've got other defenders who play in that sort of left back position, which we are trying to find a replacement in case we sell Zinchenko or Kivio. And we're being linked to these three defenders here. One of them is Milos Kerkez, who plays for Bournemouth, I believe. And he was also at the Euros, very good player. And then we've got Fadi Kadioglu from Turkey and plays for Fenerbahce. He's one of those that we're being rumored to already have made an offer for of about £70 million, which was turned down. Now it looks like we need to come up with more money in the region of 25 to 30 million pounds for us to get this player in. He's got very progressive runs. He can really own that wing for himself, and he can also play as a winger. So he's a very, very versatile player. And we know Arteta and versatile are literally words in the same sentence. Then we've got Bradley Loco, who plays out there in France. He was actually nominated in the French Team of the Season as their left back, and he is a very good player, also watched by Manchester United. At 25 million would be an absolute bargain. So I wouldn't mind to have these players come in, but of course, I would prefer players who are placed higher up on this list. Now, next up is the keepers. We will need to replace our keepers in case we have Ramsdale leaving Arsenal Football Club, which he has actually shown a desire to leave. Arsenal have slapped a price tag of £40 million on Ramsdale. I don't know whether they're able to get that from their current market situation, but if we sell him, we are of course going to try and get a replacement. And Henry Lunin from Real Madrid comes to mind as an immediate choice. He's being linked heavily with Arsenal Football Club. I don't see why a player who's second choice at Real Madrid will come to Arsenal to be second choice at Arsenal. But hey, you never know. Maybe the attraction of London is what he wants most for his family. Next up also is Wojciech Szczesny. A player we had in our books previously before he went on to Juventus, has been absolute immense for them. He has done a good job. Now he's available for about £5 million, and he is very keen to come back to Arsenal Football Club. Another player that we've been linked with, who's also very highly rated, is Justin Bilo from Feyenoord. A very good keeper, solid stats, and he could be a good backup keeper for Arsenal Football Club. We've also been mentioned in connection with Jason Steele, who plays for Brighton. I believe that Arsenal are actually going to go and try to sign their main signing, that is a front player, even before we sell anybody. But some other players, especially in midfield and at the back and the keeper position, we have to sell before we buy. Now, the players we want to offload are as listed here. We got Ramsdale at 40 million. I believe we can get something in the 25 for 30 million range for him. We've also got Alexander Zinchenko. Zinchenko has been one of those players who's been a paradox with most Arsenal fans because he can be absolutely unplayable and immense, especially when he does that inversion where he comes into midfield. He was immense, especially last season, the 2022-2023 season. He was one of those players who made us really, really hard to play against. But his defensive side is a bit lacking. He can lose concentration. And that is why maybe he has gone down the pecking order. And he's also prone to the injury. So he's one of those that we're trying to get out through the door. And Bayern Munich are said to be interested. That £9 million price, I believe we're not likely to get that. Maybe we can get something along the region of £30 million or maybe 25 to £30 million for him. Then we've got Smith Rowe, a fan favorite, a player who's come from the academy, had a very good season in that 2020-2021 season, but after that, he's sort of not had very good time with Arsenal Football Club. He's been very prone to injury, and last season he was fairly unutilized, although he was fit for a good part of the season. And I think selling him could be the best option. Fulham are said to be very interested in this player, and I think if you can give us £30 million, snatch it, and take a walk and go, because that's good money. And I don't think we're utilizing him much. I think his profile does not fit in with what Arteta wants in that position. Then Edin Ketia, very much in demand from Crystal Palace, we are told, and also other clubs in the Premier League. So it remains to be seen whether we can get 30 million for Edin Ketia. Thomas Partey as well, £25 million is what is being mentioned in connection with him. I believe we can get more money if he moves to Saudi Arabia. So hopefully we can have a big money offer from Saudi. Next up is Samuel Okonga, shown on loan with Luton this past season, and now he is being mentioned in connection with clubs like Everton. I hope we can get £20 million for this player, because we paid about 17 million for him barely 2 seasons ago. Also, Kieran Tierney, a fan favorite, but one who has been plagued by injuries as well, and because of that, his price tag reflects that at 10 million. A player we bought for over £20 million will be a marked loss on him, but I believe he deserves a chance to go and play in another club where he gets more opportunity to play, because he's a very, very good player. And also Reece Nelson, rated at £15 million. Crystal Palace are said to be looking at him to replace the outgoing Olise, so he could be one of those that could actually do a good job for them. Lastly, we've got Nuno Tavares. As I think most of you have forgotten about him, but he's been out there on loan with Nottingham Forest, also on the outgoing list. Never really did the job for Arsenal Football Club. He's one of those players who can be very frustrating in terms of he can lose concentration during a game. He can give you a 10-1 game where he scores goals from the wing, and but the next game he gives you a 4. So not consistent. You cannot afford to have that at Arsenal Football Club, and he's one of those that we are rightly putting on the outgoing list. So what is my analysis in terms of which players we are actually likely to bring in through the door this summer window? I think we are going big on a front player. We're going in for a marquee striker, a player who can guarantee us 25 plus goals a season, a world-class striker. And in this case, I think we are going all in for Victor Osimhen from Napoli. If we fail to get Victor Osimhen, then I think your guess is as good as mine. I think we can get any of these other players. I think we can get Victor Gyökeres if the price is favorable. Or lastly, we might actually go for players like Matthews Cunha or Artem Dovbyk. So any of those 4, I think one of our signings this summer on the front position is likely to come from those 4 names. Remember this and hold me accountable if I miss it. But anyway, I'm just making an informed guess, and your guess is as good as mine in terms of if you've been looking at the transfer market, you can see what's happening. Next up is the winger position, which I believe, having seen what Nico Williams pulled at the Euro, if he is available and he wants to come to the Premier League, I think we can get him for Arsenal Football Club. So I would say Nico Williams, Xavi Simons as well could be in that same category. Those 2, I think we are going to get one of these 2 players. And also Pedro Neto could be the 3rd choice if we miss out on these 2. So the way they lined up here, I believe that's how we're likely to have them. Nico Williams, Xavi Simons, or Pedro Neto. Next up is the midfield position. I think from the recent rumors, I think we're going all in for Bruno Guimaraes. If we miss out on Bruno Guimaraes, then we're likely to come back and get Amadou Onana or Yusuf Fofana. That's my analysis. Any of those 3, I think, can be a very good signing for Arsenal Football Club. Now, coming to the defensive position, I think we are going for Mark Guehi. He's a London boy. If we can get him for about that £50 million mark, I think we'll get Mark Guehi, and that will solve our defensive issues. And then it also remains to be seen if we sell either Zinchenko or Kivio, then we might also add a left back to that position. Then the keepers, I think we are getting, this is a difficult one. I think we will not go big in terms of the money. So we try to go for a keeper who costs us less money, because we're likely to have spent a lot of money in the other positions. So watch out for Wojciech Szczesny or even Justin Bieler if we manage to get him at a good price. In terms of the outgoings, I hope we manage to sell all these players, honestly. Of course, apart from Aaron Ramsdale, if we can't get a better keeper out there than him, and if he's happy to remain, but I know he's not happy to remain. So yeah, we've had good times with these players at Arsenal Football Club, except maybe a few didn't play much for our club. And it's good time to sell them and get the money and reinvest it in another way that can benefit our club more. So thank you for listening. So a total of 45 players have gone through there who have all been linked with Arsenal Football Club. Exciting prospects and good times ahead for Arsenal Football Club. You know, we are trying to make this club a top club in Europe, able to compete with the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City, and also in the Premier League, able to win the title. So very exciting times ahead. I will be bringing you more news every time we've got an update on any of these prospects or any other new prospects that may crop up. I will add them to this list. Keep tuned to this channel so we keep bringing you more Arsenal news. Please take a moment to subscribe and like and comment so that we can grow this channel together and make it a big channel for Arsenal fans everywhere. Have a good time. Till next time. See you. Bye-bye.